The sound of laughter echoed down the hall as Sarah prepared her speech for graduation. But it wasn't the excitement of the impending ceremony that sent chills down her spine, it was the memories of laughter shared, the late-night whispers, and the bond she had built with her stepbrother, Jake. Her heart raced with a chaotic mixture of emotions, a storm brewing just beneath the surface. Standing in front of the bathroom mirror, she brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear, her eyes reflecting a deeper turmoil. How had it come to this? How had the boy who once annoyed her with silly pranks transformed in her mind into someone so significant, so intricately woven into the fabric of her life? Today she felt an anxiety she couldn't quite place, a sense that everything was about to change. As she stared at her reflection, she caught herself daydreaming about Jake. He had this rugged charm that made her heart flutter in ways she was not ready to admit. The way he tossed his hair back, the way his laughter filled the room, everything about him had become intoxicating. She tried to shake the thoughts away, telling herself that they were simply bonds of friendship, but her heart played a cruel trick on her. "Sarah, are you ready?" The shout came from downstairs, and the urgency in her mother's voice brought her back to reality. Sighing, she slipped on her graduation cap, determined to push those confusing feelings aside for today at least. When Sarah finally made her way downstairs, the chaotic energy of her family filled the room. Decorations adorned the walls, a cacophony of colors celebrating her achievements. Yet she couldn't shake the sense of longing that lingered in the air. "Hey, grad." Jake's voice pulled her attention like a magnet. He stood at the bottom of the staircase, leaning casually against the railing. His charming smile lit up the room, a familiar sight that sent waves of warmth coursing through her. But today, it felt different, charged. "Thanks, Jake," she replied, struggling to maintain her composure. He had always been her closest ally, the one person who understood her like no one else. Yet, the friendly banter they enjoyed now felt laced with something deeper, something both thrilling and terrifying. As the party unfolded with friends and family mingling, Sarah and Jake stole glances at each other, their unspoken connection, forming a quiet tension that filled the space. Every time their eyes met, an electric jolt sparked between them. Why had she never noticed how intensely they could communicate without words? "Do you remember the first day we met?" Jake asked as they settled onto the porch swing, the soft breeze rustling the leaves around them. Sarah's laughter burst forth, filling the empty spaces around them. "Yes, you were such a brat. I thought you'd never stop pulling my hair." "Hey, I was just trying to make you smile," he defended, his playful smirk bringing a flutter to her stomach. "Plus, you were pretty easy to annoy." Their laughter intertwined, reminiscent of simpler days filled with innocent games and endless compliments. Yet, the subtext to their exchange lingered unspoken in the air, thick with emotions neither dared to address. "I think it's safe to say I've graduated past the hair-pulling phase," she joked, looking deeply into his eyes, her heart pounding. The warmth in his gaze was undeniable, making her breath hitch momentarily. "Yeah, but you still know how to get under my skin," he countered, sliding a bit closer. "You're still my favorite pain." At that moment, the laughter faded, and silence enveloped them, a fragile pause that felt almost sacred. Sarah's pulse raced. She could sense the shift in the atmosphere like an approaching storm. Did Jake feel it too? Did he realize how much she cherished their moments together? Their laughter resumed as the party continued around them, but the conversation lingered in their minds, unsaid and unrealized. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over everything and making the moment feel more intimate, more poignant. "Do you ever think about what happens after graduation?" Jake finally asked, his voice lowering as if inviting her into a deeper conversation. Sarah took a breath, her mind racing. She thought of all the uncertainties ahead, the choices they would soon have to make, and the distance that would inevitably stretch between them as they pursued their respective dreams. "All the time. It's scary." "Scary?" Jake echoed, leaning in closer, an intent focus lighting up his features. "Or is it exhilarating?" "Maybe both," she admitted, her heart pounding. The moment felt fragile, like glass, a thin layer away from shattering under the weight of their feelings. "I don't want to lose what we have." Jake said suddenly, his eyes serious, holding hers with a gravity she had never seen before. You're my best friend, but it feels like there's something more. Her heart raced, and she struggled to catch her breath, the weight of unspoken words swirling between them. Why had they never talked about this before? Did he realize how she felt beneath the surface? I know, was all she managed to say, feeling vulnerability bubble to the surface. It's strange, isn't it? This, whatever this is. But I don't want to pretend anymore. I want us to explore what it could be. The intensity in his gaze held her captive, making her thoughts swirl even faster. Before they could delve deeper, the chaotic energy of the party crested, pulling them back into the celebration. They exchanged knowing smiles, a silent agreement hanging in the air, unaddressed, yet palpable. As the night wore on and the stars twinkled overhead, Sarah couldn't shake off the impending sense of change. Their relationship was teetering on a precipice, and she was both terrified and exhilarated. Could they navigate this new territory without losing what they had? Amid laughter, cheers, and clinking glasses, she pondered the unsaid promise resting between them, leaving her breathless with fear and excitement. Gradually, as the festivities continued into the night, Sarah felt a warmth spread through Hira, sense of belonging, even amidst the chaos. Little did they know, the journey they were about to embark on would challenge their bond in ways they never imagined. As Jake's laughter echoed in her ears and fireworks lit up the sky, Sarah couldn't help but hope that this unfolding chapter would lead them to a place neither could foresee, a path that could bring them even closer than before. But a little part of her wondered at what cost. Would today mark the beginning of something new, or merely the celebration of an unacknowledged connection? As the sky burst into color and the world around them blurred, she held on to the thought that perhaps, just perhaps, it was the beginning of everything. The unexpected. Visit, the day after her graduation, was a whirlwind, a blur of congratulations, gift unwrapping, and the bittersweet taste of endings and beginnings. Sarah felt a familiar comfort settling in, yet an anxious energy buzzed beneath her skin. The moments from the night before replayed in her mind, a tape stuck on repeat. Especially Jake's eyes, so earnest and filled with unspoken promise, danced before her thoughts. As the sun dipped lower in the sky and shadows stretched long, over her backyard, Sarah took a deep breath, trying to focus on her next chapter. Her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, snapping her out of her reverie. It was a text from Jake. Jake. Hey, want me to come over? I have something for you. Her heart raced. Was it too soon to see him again? She wasn't sure, but the tension they shared had ignited a curiosity in her. What could he possibly have for her? Sarah. Sure, come over. Minutes felt like hours until she finally heard the familiar crunch of gravel under his feet. With a flutter of nerves, she straightened her hair and took a moment to gather her thoughts before opening the door. Surprise! Jake burst into the room holding a small, neatly wrapped box. There was a twinkle in his eye that made her heart skip. What was inside? Wow, what's this? She asked, trying to mask her excitement with nonchalance. For you, obviously, he teased, his playful demeanor putting her at ease. Open it! Inside the box was a small photo album, its cover simple yet elegant. I found these, he said, pulling out a handful of photographs from earlier years, a tangible reminder of their shared history. Thought it might be nice to reminisce. Jake, this is wonderful. She flipped through the pages, laughter bubbling as she took in pictures of them as kids' goofy faces, silly poses, and snapshots from family outings. It told a story of a childhood filled with adventures, secrets, and the kind of friendship that weathered storms. Remember this? He said, pointing to a picture of them from a summer camping trip, their faces smeared with chocolate after devouring too many s'mores. And this one, he turned the page, revealing an image of a particularly embarrassing moment when they accidentally unleashed a flock of geese at the park, leaving them both in fits of laughter. Ah, yes. I was so scared they were going to attack us, she giggled, the warmth of those memories enveloping her. You were hiding behind me like I was some kind of fortress. He chuckled, his laughter echoing in the room. Amidst the playful banter, Sarah felt the unspoken tension creeping in again. His laughter was intoxicating, but the memories made her painfully aware of their connection in a way that was becoming difficult to ignore. Each passing moment felt charged with the awareness of their evolving relationship, a question lingering in the air. What would they become? As they continued flipping through the pages, the joy of nostalgia began to fade into something deeper. A poignant silence loomed as another photo captured a moment of them at a school dance, carefree and young. They were dressed in their best, but it was the looks on their faces, the unfiltered innocence, that resonated strongly within her. "Sarah," Jake began, his voice suddenly serious, breaking the illusion of shared nostalgia. He leaned slightly, closer, making her realize just how intimate this moment felt. "Yeah?" she replied, heart racing, aware of the shift in energy. "I've been thinking about what we talked about last night." His gaze was steady, piercing through the veil of friendly familiarity into something raw and real. The gravity of his words drew her in, a magnet pulling at her heartstrings. "Me too," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. There was a palpable tension in the air, like the calm before a storm, electric and unexpected. They were drawn into the moment, an invisible thread weaving their connection into something undeniably profound. But just as their eyes locked, an unexpected noise shattered the intimacy, a loud bang from the kitchen. "What was that?" Sarah jumped slightly, breaking the spell. Jake's face broke into a grin, and he opened the door to check. "I think your cat just knocked over something." He laughed, the tension diffusing into the familiar chaos of everyday life. "Sorry, Stella," she called, and Jake chuckled, clearly amused by the antics of her feline companion. But as the moment drifted into the background, Sarah felt a pang of disappointment. They were so close to something meaningful, yet everyday life had pulled them back, forcing them to linger in the comfort of familiarity rather than leap into the unknown. After tidying up the kitchen together, the atmosphere lightened again, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were balancing on a precipice. Would they confront what lay ahead, or would they let it float into oblivion like so many moments before? "Want to take a walk?" Jake suggested, sensing her internal turmoil. "Sure, that sounds nice." A simple stroll felt like the perfect way to clear her mind, a chance to breathe away the tension that hung between them. They meandered through the nearby park, the golden hues of sunset wrapping them in warmth. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers mingled with the earthy notes of grass. Yet, beneath the beauty, a thrilling uncertainty lurked, urging them towards truth. As they walked side by side, a comfortable silence fell between them. Jake occasionally stole glances at her, and Sarah felt the weight of his gaze, a silent reminder of the emotions they hadn't yet addressed. "Sarah?" he finally asked, breaking the silence. "Yeah?" "What do you really think about us?" A breath caught in her throat. "I think there's something special between us. It's more than just friendship," she admitted, surprised by her own honesty. Jake's eyes lit up, their shared tension palpable now. "I feel that too." Before Sarah could respond, a commotion nearby caught their attention. A group of children were playing frisbee, their laughter mixing with the warm evening air. "Hey, let's join them," Jake suggested with a grin, the moment shifting again into a playful challenge. "Are you sure? I can't throw a frisbee to save my life," she laughed, trying to deflect the gravity of their earlier conversation. "It doesn't matter. Come on!" He took her hand and pulled her toward the group. The energy shifted back to youthful playfulness as they joined the children, their laughter blending with the breeze. Throwing the frisbee back and forth, Sarah felt weight lift. Perhaps this was what they needed, a temporary escape from the complexities of their budding relationship. Yet, in the midst of the fun, Sarah felt Jake's hand brush against hers, sending ripples of warmth surging through her. For a brief moment, everything else faded away, the noise, the expectations, even the fear. "See, you're getting better at this," he cheered, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with colors she couldn't name, Sarah realized she didn't want this moment to end. Eventually, the game faded, and the cool evening air began to settle in. They found themselves sitting on a bench overlooking the small lake that shimmered under the fading light. "Thank you for today," she said, turning to look at him. "It was just what I needed. Anytime." Jake smiled, and again the moment stretched between them, heavy with possibilities. "You know, whatever happens, I don't want us to drift apart." "Me neither." The sincerity in her voice caught her off guard. It was simple, true, and it hung in the air like the last light of day. Suddenly, a small ripple of discomfort settled between them, challenging the warmth they had built that day. They were at a crossroads where clarity beckoned, yet the fear of stepping across that line was palpable. Before they could delve deeper into their emotions, a familiar voice called out, shattering the moment. "Sarah! Jake! There you are!" It was Sarah's mother, looking for them, pulling them back into the reality that had initially felt so lighthearted. "Dinner's ready! Come on inside!" Jake grabbed her hand, giving her a reassuring squeeze. Yet Sarah felt the moment dissipate, the lingering charge fading away. As they returned to the warmth of her home, she couldn't help but wonder how long they could keep teasing around the edges of their feelings before finally stepping into the light. As they entered the house, laughter and chatter exploded around them, but Sarah felt distant, caught between the joy of her surroundings and the weight of unexpressed emotions. Would this be the moment they stepped into something new? That question danced in her mind as they joined the festivities, and beneath the surface of her lingering thoughts, a sense of anticipation thrummed quietly. The evening held promises of clarity yet to unfold, a journey waiting just beyond the horizon. Deep down, Sarah knew that eventually they would have to confront what lay between them. But until then, she would revel in the beauty of the uncertainties that danced in the air, hoping for the moment when they would finally cross that precipice together, the first challenge. The morning sun streamed through Sarah's bedroom window, illuminating the room as she pulled herself from dreams of late-night laughter and fleeting glances shared with Jake. The moments they had together lately felt like a tightening knot in her chest, exciting yet suffocating. She stretched, trying to shake off the remnants of confusion that clung to her like a shadow, reminding her of their unaddressed feelings. Today was meant to be a celebration at the local fair, a colorful escape from the whirlwind of recent emotions, but Sarah felt a heaviness in the pit of her stomach. What should have been joyful anticipation morphed into a thorny anxiety. Would they address the tension between them, or would they continue to dance around it, pretending it didn't exist? Just as she was about to grab her phone, it buzzed to life, pulling her from her thoughts. It was Jake. Jake. Ready for a day full of fun? A smile crept onto her face against her will. His playful energy was contagious, an antidote to her anxiety. Sarah. "Of course, let me just get ready." As she raced through her morning routine, Sarah plastered a smile on her face, the excitement blooming beneath her worries. Yet the thought of spending an entire day with Jake, weaving through crowds and laughter, made her heart race in ways that felt both thrilling and terrifying. When she finally emerged from her house, Jake was waiting, leaning against his car, a carefree smile etched on his face. His presence washed over her like a wave of warmth, flooding her with familiar feelings that she struggled to name. "Ready to make some memories?" Jake asked, opening the passenger door for her. "Absolutely, but no more hair pulling," she quipped, stepping inside, trying to ease the tension. The drive to the fair was filled with chatter about their favorite rides, games, and foods. Still, Sarah sensed the unspoken feelings lying under the surface, waiting to surface again. As they arrived and parked, the sounds and sights of the fair engulfed them. Colorful booths lined the pathways, the sweet smell of cotton candy wafted through the air, and laughter echoed all around. It was impossible to ignore the childlike wonder that filled her heart. Yet there was a growing detachment formed by the sense that something was about to happen, something that could change everything. "Let's hit the Ferris wheel first," Jake suggested, pointing toward the towering structure lit up by vibrant lights. "Good call. I've always wanted to see the view from up there," she replied, her initial hesitation morphing into eagerness. As they climbed into the Ferris wheel's cabin, they settled beside one another, the moment charged with excitement. As they ascended higher, the world below shrank, colors swirling together. The view was breathtaking, but Sarah could hardly focus. Each rise and fall felt like a reflection of their turbulent emotions, and the silence between them felt heavy, yet charged. "Can you believe we graduated?" Jake broke the silence, his voice a mix of wonder and nostalgia. "It feels like a lifetime ago," she replied, holding onto the railing tightly, not wanting to acknowledge how close his proximity made her heart race. As they reached the top where the world laid open before them, something shifted. Jake turned to her, the light from the sunset casting an ethereal glow over his features. "It's beautiful up here, huh?" he said, his gaze fixed on her rather than the view. "It is," she breathed, the intimacy of the moment sending shivers down her spine. But just as she was about to speak, they descended again, the sudden rush of wind stealing her breath away, pulling her thoughts back into a whirlwind. When they finally disembarked, Sarah felt a swirl of conflicting emotions. Laughter and cheer surrounded them, but in this atmosphere of joy, a heaviness lingered just beneath her surface. "Let's try that dunk tank. You'll never get me in," Jake challenged, a playful smirk on his face. "Oh, we'll see about that," she shot back, a grin spreading across her face. As they approached the dunk tank, they saw a crowd gathered around, cheering on participants. Sarah couldn't help but join in the excitement. Jake stepped up, ready to throw the ball at the target, the playful spark in his eyes igniting something within her. With a swift motion, he aimed and threw, landing the ball squarely on the target. The splash of water sent laughter rippling through the crowd, and Sarah joined in the chorus of cheers. "See, I told you I was good at this," he laughed, shaking water from his hair. "You got lucky," she teased, but the thrill of the moment electrified her heart. She stepped up to the plate next, a bit more nervous. "All right, your turn to cheer for me." Taking aim, she threw the ball, but to her dismay, it missed the target entirely, eliciting laughter from the crowd. Jake laughed heartily, his eyes sparkling, and she felt a flush of embarrassment mingle with delight. As the game continued, each splashing victory transformed into laughter, yet an unsettling feeling brewed within her. Mixed feelings of joy and growing anxiety began to coalesce at the back of her mind. Would they continue to ignore the mounting tension between them, or would it lead to something unanticipated? After several rounds of playful games and tasty fair food, they finally eased into a quieter corner with a funnel cake, indulging in the sweet treat while recounting their day. They were both exhilarated yet anxious as they settled into a quiet spot carved out underneath a flickering fairy light display. "That was so much fun," Jake said, taking a bite. "Even if you couldn't hit the target, I've never laughed so much." Sarah laughed, but her smile faltered slightly. "Yeah, it was a blast, but what do you think about everything that's changing?" The shift in the atmosphere was palpable. Jake's demeanor shifted, and the playful banter faded as he focused intently on her. "You mean us?" The question hung in the air, thick with tension. Fear coursed through her. The vulnerability was terrifying. Could they truly confront what lay beneath their shared laughter and friendship? "Yeah, I mean, I don't want us to lose what we have, but it feels like there's something more, something we should probably talk about." His eyes locked onto hers, holding her gaze with intensity that made it hard to breathe. "I've been thinking about that too, a lot. It scares me." Sarah's heart raced. "Me too, but what do we do?" Before he could answer, chaos erupted nearby. A sudden cheer broke out, and Sarah turned to see a commotion, a group appearing to argue, fists raised, tension rising as voices escalated. Her heart sank as she realized it was an argument growing more heated by the moment. "Should we check it out?" Jake asked hesitantly, concern painting his features. "I don't know. It looks intense. Maybe we should just keep..." But just then, a loud crash echoed across the fairgrounds as one of the participants swung wildly, sending a drink sprawling across a nearby booth and splattering onto startled bystanders. The crowd gasped, and Sarah instinctively grabbed Jake's arm. "Let's find somewhere safer," she urged, her instincts kicking in. As they turned to flee, the chaos spread like wildfire. people shouting as the argument escalated into a full-blown fight. Adrenaline coursed through their veins as they rushed away from the fray, weaving through frightened onlookers and startled festival-goers. "Over here," Jake shouted, pulling her toward a less crowded area, away from the chaos. They ducked behind a display of brightly colored cotton candy, panting, adrenaline still building. "Did you see that? That was insane." Jake laughed anxiously as they settled into the moment of safety. "Yeah, I thought it was going to get out of control," Sarah gasped, her heart racing. "I'm glad we got away." Yet, amidst the chaos, Sarah's heart still raced not only from fear but from the earlier conversation they had nearly shared. As the adrenaline faded away, that unacknowledged tension lingered like a ghost between them. "Hey," Jake said softly, his eyes locked on her. The laughter melted away, and again they found themselves standing on that precipice filled with unresolved feelings, their hearts pounding for different reasons. "Can we talk about this?" Before Sarah could respond, another sudden shout erupted from nearby. The crowd began to quiet as security intervened, diffusing the situation, but the moment felt charged with uncertainty. They were so close yet so far from grappling with reality, stuck on a line drawn precariously tight. "Yes, let's talk," Sarah finally managed, her voice firm yet nervously hopeful. It was the moment they needed, yet it was as if the universe had conspired to keep them from addressing their feelings. Returning to the carnival atmosphere, they found themselves wandering toward a quieter exit, both of them holding on to the excitement and uncertainty of what lay ahead. As they walked, an undeniable bond pulsed beneath it all, a longing that threatened to erupt at any moment. Sarah was determined that this would not be the end. The incident might have broken their momentum, but it couldn't dim the light that had begun to shine between them. "Let's not let this night end like that," Jake suggested as they walked. "We can always try again." "Absolutely," Sarah replied, the resolve strengthening in her heart. "No more dancing around it. We need to talk." And with those words, they stepped into that fragile space where friendship and something more collided, approaching the unknown that lay ahead with both fear and exhilaration. They would face it together, no matter how challenging it might be. Just as they reached the parking lot, Sarah glanced back at the fair, a chaotic blend of laughter, shouting, and fireworks erupting into the night sky. The lingering thrill in the air only seemed to underscore the truth looming between her and Jake. "Are you ready?" he asked, breaking into her thoughts, his expression earnest, the weight of what was yet to come suspended in that breathless moment. "More than ever," she replied, clenching her fists. The night sat before them, a canvas yet to be painted, and they held the brush together. Unbeknownst to them, the hurdles ahead would test their bond, but as they stepped into the night, Sarah felt a powerful surge of hope. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, united and undeterred, ready to embrace the unknown. The moment of truth. The hum of excitement still thrummed through Sarah as they made their way back from the fair. The night air was thick with the scent of popcorn and cotton candy, but an unmistakable tension pulsed with every step she took beside Jake. Every lingering glance and every quiet word felt heavy with unsaid declarations. As they settled onto a bench in a quiet corner of the local park, distant laughter faded into the background, leaving them with only the sounds of rustling leaves and the soft chirping of crickets to fill the silence. The stars twinkled overhead, casting a soft glow that illuminated the clarity of the moment they had long run from. "Sarah," Jake began, his voice steady yet filled with vulnerability. She turned to him, her heart racing. "We really need to talk about everything that's happening between us." "I know," she replied, feeling her heart palpitate against her ribcage. "I've been thinking about it a lot. I just didn't know how to bring it up." Jake took a deep breath, flashing a quick smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, as if he were trying to mask his own nervousness. "There's so much I want to say, but I guess I'm scared of ruining what we have," he confessed. The truth of his words hung heavily in the air. It echoed the very fears that had kept her silent. "I feel that too," she admitted, her voice trembling. "But if we don't talk about it and keep pretending everything is the same, won't we just end up losing each other?" Jake's brow furrowed, deep in thought. You're right. I can't shake the feeling that what we have is different now. I care about you, Sarah. More than I think I should, sometimes. The admission sent a rush of warmth through her. I care about you too, Jake, even if it scares me to think about what that means. They fell into silence, each lost in their thoughts, processing how to navigate this uncharted territory. Sarah found herself fighting against a tidal wave of emotions: longing, confusion, fear. This moment felt monumental, yet the weight of their unspoken feelings hung heavy, pressing in around them. Do you ever wonder how this happened? Jake asked, breaking the silence again, curiosity dancing in his eyes. We were just kids, and now... His voice trailed off, leaving the question hanging in the air. Now we're not just kids anymore, Sarah answered, her heart pounding. And it makes everything feel so much more complicated. Complicated but exciting, he suggested, a hopeful smile breaking through the clouds of uncertainty. Exactly. I'm excited but terrified at the same time. She took a breath, determined to be open. What if we take this step and it doesn't work? What's the worst that could happen? Jake countered, leaning in a little closer. We could decide to go back to being friends if it doesn't. But what if we don't try and always wonder what could have been? His reasoning made sense, but also ignited more questions. Would they still be able to return to the comforting familiarity they once shared if things went awry? Sarah took a moment, breathless, and leaned back against the bench, staring up at the stars as if they could provide some answer. What do we even call this? Whatever this is becoming. I think we'll figure that out together, he replied, sincerity filling his tone. But it's worth exploring, isn't it? Their eyes locked, and in that moment, everything outside of them faded away. The laughter from the fair, the rustling leaves, the flickering stars, they all blurred into the background as they leaned into their truth. But just as they were about to cross that precipice of understanding, an unexpected commotion broke through. The night. A couple of teenagers rushed into the park, laughing loudly, their voices carrying through the serene night air. The laughter felt intrusive, breaking the moment they had painstakingly crafted. I guess even the universe doesn't want us to have a moment alone, Jake exclaimed, rolling his eyes playfully. Sarah chuckled but felt the weight of disappointment. I suppose we should find somewhere quieter. As they moved to a more secluded part of the park, they took refuge under the large, sprawling branches of an ancient oak tree. It felt like a hidden sanctuary, as if the world around them faded away, and it was just the two of them. Okay, she said, gathering her courage. Let's really talk. No distractions. Jake gave her an encouraging nod. You first. The seriousness of the moment washed over her, and she felt as if every heartbeat resonated with the importance of what was about to unfold. I've never felt like this about anyone before, Jake. It's terrifying but thrilling, she admitted, her voice starting to shake. And I can't help but wonder if we could actually make this work. Sarah, he began, his voice low. The way he said her name sent shivers down her spine. I want that too. But I'm just worried about what could happen if we mess it up. What if we don't mess it up? She proposed, emboldened by his admission. He leaned in slightly, the distance between them narrowing. You're right. What if this is the best thing for both of us? Their fingers brushed together, a tentative touch that ignited a spark between them. The air felt thick with both possibilities and fears, and Sarah could feel the energy pulsing in the space separating them. So, what do we do? You trust me, he said quietly, his intensity pulling her in. And I'll trust you. Okay, she breathed, moving closer. I can promise that. Then let's do it, Jake decided, determination radiating from him. Let's stop dancing around the truth and see where this takes us. Heart racing, Sarah could feel a rush of adrenaline as they held that gaze, the moment stretched like an elastic band about to snap. This was it, the moment that could change everything. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, a loud, raucous crash echoed nearby, followed by a piercing scream. Adrenaline surged as they both jumped to their feet, hearts racing at the sudden chaos, emerging from the darkened pathway. What was that? Jake exclaimed, his earlier intensity replaced by apprehension. I don't know. It sounds serious, Sarah replied, scanning the area for any sign of the disturbance. The shouts grew louder, and without thinking, they instinctively moved towards the sound, drawn by concern. As they arrived at the edge of a small clearing, the scene unfolded before their eyes. A group of teenagers had gathered around a pair of individuals who appeared to be fighting, shouting and pushing each other in a chaotic frenzy. Hey! Stop! Jake shouted, his protective instincts kicking in. Sarah grabbed his arm, feeling anxiety surge. This could escalate, she warned him, worrying they would get caught in the middle. But Jake moved forward, driven by the need to intervene, as the situation continued to spiral out of control. Come on, we can't just stand here! Before Sarah could protest, Jake surged ahead, stepping between the two combatants. Hey, you need to cool it! This isn't the place for this! His presence acted like a spark in the night. Everything froze as the fighters took a moment to register his intrusion. Get out of the way, one of the teens shouted, swinging a fist wildly. Jake ducked just in time, adrenaline surging through him as their conflict intensified. No, Sarah cried, scrambling to catch up, panic coursing through her veins. Jake, get back! But it was too late. The chaos erupted and a flurry of fists and bodies crashed together, sending Jake tumbling back. Sarah felt a wave of terror wash over her as she rushed forward to pull him back. Jake, are you okay? She shouted, her voice swallowed by the noise. With a reinvigorated roar, Jake regained his footing, gripping her arm tightly, pulling her further away from the fray. We need to get to safety! The fervor of the crowd surged with intensity, a lesson reminding them both how quickly things could escalate. As they pulled away from the battle, Sarah glanced back, helplessness washing over her as she watched the altercation. Finally, they found refuge behind a fence bordering the park, panting heavily and attempting to catch their breath. What just happened? She gasped, her heart racing. I don't know, but that could have gone seriously wrong, Jake replied, still trying to gather himself, but the fierce intensity in his eyes shifted. It was reckless, she said, digging deep. You didn't have to jump in like that. Neither did you, he shot back, his emotions still raw. But we couldn't just do nothing. That's not what I meant, she argued, frustration blooming. If anything happened to you, I couldn't handle it. The weight of her words resonated between them, the fear laced with a deeper concern that neither had dared to voice before. The adrenaline of the moment shifted into something fragile, reminding them of everything they hadn't yet said. I'm sorry, Jake finally sighed, running a hand through his hair. I know you care. I just didn't want to stand by and watch something terrible happen. As their breath steadied, the connection they had begun to explore felt even richer, their emotions igniting once more. I know you're brave, but sometimes caution has a place too, she replied softly, her voice calming. I get that, and I respect you for caring. I didn't mean to worry you. His vulnerability pulled her closer, and in that fragile moment, the tension shifted away from chaos and towards understanding. I care a lot, Jake, she confessed, her heart feeling the weight of the truth. And I can't help but worry about you. Jake stepped closer, taking her hands in his. Then let's promise to look out for one another, no matter what happens. Feeling the intensity in his touch, she nodded, heart racing. I promise. Just as they shared that unspoken vow, the chaos surrounding them seemed to fade. The distant shouts of fighters turned into muted background noise, and the tension that had tied them together only moments before felt transformed into something warmer, softening the edge of vulnerability. In that moment, beneath the stars and in the aftermath of chaos, Sarah felt their bond strengthen, blooming into something deeper and more profound. Let's go, Jake suggested, his voice a blend of determination and relief. We don't have to be part of that crowd anymore. Agreed, she replied, leaving the chaos behind them as they turned to walk back toward the quieter park path. As they moved forward, Sarah realized that this night hadn't diminished their connection. In fact, it had solidified the feeling, growing between them something worth exploring further, despite the uncertainties ahead. Let's promise to talk again, Jake said, his tone serious and filled with meaning. and about everything. Can we find a way to truly navigate this? Together? Yes. Let's find our way, she affirmed, feeling the excitement building within her. As they walked further into the night, the stars glimmering above felt like guiding lights, illuminating them on the path ahead. With newfound determination, they stepped forward hand in hand, ready to confront whatever challenges awaited them. They were on the precipice of a new chapter, uncertain but unwilling to turn back now. The night might be filled with obstacles, but together they felt ready to take on anything life threw their way. Far from the chaos behind them, a fresh beginning lay ahead, a journey waiting to unfold.